Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. My name is Video Games and today is going to be a little different. I wanted to introduce to this channel a little bit of kind of cozy gaming, implement a cozy day, a relaxing day once a week on my channel. A little different. I wanted to introduce to this channel a little bit of kind of cozy gaming, implement a cozy day, a relaxing day once a week on my channel. I'm sorry,
Fuck they think the 580's on? You just gonna roll over like a little bitch? Fuck no! Fuck this damn cheap Chinese shit. Cheap Chinese made fuck! Man, I didn't think that shit would. Fucking son of a Jesus! That split my damn skull. I'm in trouble here. We can't move without our wheels. One, found suspect. Be advised, we have reports of a violent criminal near your location. Over. Squad, we've got a felon. We have an alert on a possible felon near your location. Over. We gotta take this guy down. He's driving like a maniac. Suspect has left the vehicle. We're pursuing. Hey, dispatched after the suspect.
Squad, we're back in pursuit.
Suspect is down! Get back on the other guy!
Squad, this is PH2. We're on the scene. We've spotted the suspect.
Is everyone okay?
Any units grab a visual. He's ducked out of sight. Squad, we see him. Suspect is in range. Be advised, a patrol car has been dispatched after the suspect. I got him going this way. Head him off to the other side. We've got a patrol car in pursuit of suspect. Time for our last resort. Send in our executioner.
Everybody acted like they're spreading across the city and win it like a wheatgrass class. Yes, people.
Just give me 5 minutes without bugging me, okay? I've got the map right here.
But
Jesus, give me a minute! 5 minutes without bugging me, okay? I've got the map right here.
Hello?
Just give me 5 minutes without bugging me, okay? I've got the map right here. You.
But
Jesus, give me a minute.
I'm not trying to stress you out, but can we just ask someone?
You want to read the map?
I think that's where we need to go, just a little bit north, and then we turn.
I've got it, all right?
Nice. You could sit on my face anytime you want.
Hey, Coach! What are you doing out here? The game's in half an hour.
Johnson's AWOL.
Shit! We can't crush LA without our star pitcher.
No, we can't.
Any idea where he might be?
I have an idea. The kid likes his bars. This kid's always making me run after him. I'd bench him otherwise.
So listen, Coach. Since you're here, mind if I ask why you aren't letting Grundy bat second? His OPS is through the roof.
You're one of them computer stat guys?
The numbers say Grundy isn't being utilized the way he could be.
Numbers? Computer crunching mumbo jumbo. Faster, fool!
So, yeah.
Numbers? Computer crunching mumbo jumbo. I know what my gut says. I'll go look for him.
He's always nagging me.
He's looking out for you. Should hear the way he talked about you, like you're his own kid.
Yeah, he's always yelling, telling me I need to clean up my act.
Come on, man. Look at how good you got it.
I get that I'm lucky.
Not lucky, man. Skill. You have talent. That means something. Coach just doesn't want you to waste your potential.
I never thought of it like that. Potential. I like that. That's a cool way of thinking about it.
Sure, man. That's the thing. Lots of potential out there. But some people get a chance and others don't. So you have a chance. Don't waste it.
You're like a guru, a cab driving guru, like a Druru.
Stick to baseball, man. The whole city's backing you.
We're winning. Promise you that.
Don't tell me. Tell the coach.
911, please state the nature of your emergency.
Can you send the police? We're gonna need them fast.
Stay calm. We have you on CTOS. Police will be there shortly.
And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And today we're talking about Watchdogs Legion. This is a strange and ambitious third Watchdogs game that once again tries to kind of find a unique footing. The original Watchdogs wasn't well received by many, but I liked it quite a bit. I'll admit it. Watchdogs 2 tried injecting a bit more character and lightheartedness and a bit of goofiness, and I enjoyed that too. Legion tries something once again, but setting it in a near future London, and they designed it around no singular main character you play as. You recruit NPCs to your hacker cause and bounce around and build up a team, and it's interesting. For sure. I'm a bit mixed on some of it so far, to be honest, but I give the game lots of points for just trying weird new ideas. Let's dive in though. So, Watch Dogs Legion, like I said, takes place in London, and you're essentially hackers in a DedSec hacker cell tasked with liberating London, because it's under a tight grip of control by essentially a privatized security military force with high-tech surveillance everywhere. So district by district, you've got to rally people to your cause, use their specific skills, and take back neighborhoods from the bad guys. After a brief intro scene and a gameplay sequence, you're thrust right into the thick of it. You choose one random civilian to start with. I chose the first dude I could find that looked like a scuzzier Nico Bellic from Grand Theft Auto 4. You find a DedSec base of operations and an abandoned tube station, and then you get to building up your roster, and the game gives you quite a bit of freedom in how you want to really pursue everything. Now, you're going to want to have a big stable full of characters because they all have their own unique stuff. Special perks, abilities, sometimes weapons, and even vehicles. All stuff you're going to want to get your hands on. The way it kind of goes, most main characters, except for the jokey ones, are pretty capable all around, but characters of certain builds are just more suited for different situations. And for the most part, you're free to approach things however you really want. Mission areas typically have multiple entrances, different levels of elevation, and then from there you can do your Watchdogs thing. You know, either stealth creep around, hack cameras, use your little gadgets, drop a spider bot, maybe set some traps, cause a little technological chaos, or just go in guns blazing or punch everyone. Either way, most of the time, there isn't too much penalty to either, and the game gives you a good amount of freedom that's impressive in terms of scenario and level design, at least to me. Any way you play, it's pretty fun. Most areas, especially the main ones, seem, like I said, tightly designed to just make things interesting and make you think about how you play a little bit. Stealth is still relatively simple, which I usually don't like, but with the hacking stuff combined with that, it's fun. Different enemies bring different challenges sometimes too. The only thing is that after a while, I will say, to me personally, it felt a little bit dull, and some stuff felt repetitive by the time I saw a lot of encounters. Like, for instance, I also just got really tired of the hacking puzzles where you connect the lines in the floors and the walls and the ceilings, but I digress. There is fun variation on the characters themselves and how they affect play. That's really the name of the game here. Some characters will be more suited for action. You know, they might automatically come into your roster with cooler weapons or have some special perk or buff that helps them in combat. And if they're of the Hitman designation, they can do cool John Wick style finishers, which make them just a ton of fun to play as, the more combat oriented characters. Now, most people are at least hackers in some way and can distract an enemy by sending a notification to their phone, but more competent hacker specialized characters can make a phone malfunction and stun an enemy, or even do more types of disables and hacks while driving or just in the environment. Anyone can just hack a random flying construction zone that you can use as a platform to fly around on and get to high places, but only certain actual construction worker characters can summon one right to your location conveniently. Certain people that have a uniform for their job can get into places easier, like an Albion officer or a hospital worker. And there are even old people and street performers too. Collecting characters, that whole thing is just straight up fun. Not gonna lie. The better you get a district of the city, then specialized, more unique NPCs will pop up on the map, and you can go recruit them specifically. Not only that, I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but you can technically recruit anyone off the street. Like in typical Watchdogs fashion, you can like use your phone to like hack them and look at their information, just an NPC walking down the street, and you get a preview of their character build and what they could bring to the table. So then from there, you essentially walk up to them and trigger a randomized mission to help them out. You know, it's usually just some random thing, get rid of some blackmail evidence or save them from a gang that took them hostage. It all just feels really kind of disconnected and a bit whatever, but then you get the character and whatever they have with them that they bring to the table, and that's always fun. It would still all feel a little meaningless if there wasn't any progression to it, but thankfully, there is some type of character advancement here. You know, you get access to a tech tree that is universal, and you spend points to get stuff like an invisibility cloak, a stun punch, more health, a more powerful spider bot, more drone hacking and disabling, stuff like that. Many of them also have tiers too to dump more points into, like, you know, you unlock a stun pistol for everyone, and then the next tier of unlock for that gives you a higher ammo capacity. The points you spend on this tech tree are typically found hidden in the world and in environments, and you got to pick them up. Sometimes they're in interiors, sometimes they're exteriors, and some are easy, like just in an alleyway or on a roof, and sometimes they feel like finding a Riddler trophy in a Batman Arkham game where they're really tricky and you got to use all your tools. Now, not only are you building a skill tree that helps everyone, but you can also customize each random NPC with whatever clothes, accessories, and items you find or buy in the world. There's a surprising amount of stuff and cosmetic stuff, and it can be pretty fun. I will say, you know, the game does a good job of blending goofiness with cool future stuff, which does remind me, I do want to mention my favorite thing about the game straight up is the world. We need more games set in London. We need more games like The Getaway. But really, it's a fun and cool recreation, and the near future stuff is really interesting. And it kind of makes the whole Watchdogs playground more overwhelming with opportunity than it ever really has been. Making people's cars go all over the place, exploding stuff, dropping tons of drones from the sky, even watching NPCs get into wacky, weird confrontations on their own just means that there's always something kind of cool moving or going on in that kind of wacky, janky, open world way that's actually kind of fun, where it's just happy accidents happen all the time. Plus, there are a few fun side diversions, like mini games, like kicking a ball around and doing tricks that I actually kind of got hooked on for a minute. I wouldn't say that the game is like totally like a typical Ubisoft game where the map is just overloaded with distractions and things to do, but there is quite a bit. I think it's like a decent balance. Now, challenge-wise, most of the game is fairly easy if you pay attention, although I will say the Albion forces do hunt you down pretty relentlessly sometimes, and I was surprised by that and pretty into that. But I do gotta say, I made the mistake of not selecting permadeath mode at first. So for those of you that don't know, the game gives you the option to play the standard way, where, you know, if a character you have dies or something on a mission, then they get technically arrested or hospitalized and are like in a cooldown period and a timeout until you can use them again. Then there's also the permadeath mode, where you lose your characters if they die, straight up. Even the really good rare ones with the good perks, if they die, they die. Once I decided to play with this mode, the moment-to-moment gameplay got a little bit more interesting for me personally. Even though I thought some of the missions were dull, I just appreciated that the stakes were a bit higher. I'm glad the option is there either way. I think I decided to play with this mode period and a timeout until you can use them again. Surprised by that and pretty into that. But I do gotta say, I made the mistake of not selecting permadeath mode at first. So for those of you that don't know, the game gives you the option to play the standard way, where, you know, if a character you have dies or something on a mission, then they get technically arrested or hospitalized and are like in a cooldown period and a timeout until you can use them again. Then there's also the permadeath mode, where you lose your characters if they die, straight up. Even the really good rare ones with the good perks, if they die, they die. Once I decided to play with this mode, the moment-to-moment gameplay got a little bit more interesting for me personally. Even though I thought some of the missions were dull, I just appreciated that the stakes were a bit higher. I'm glad the option is there either way. I think freedom of choice is good in games, but first impressions wise, as I'm not finished with the game, I do say I recommend the permadeath mode if that's your type of thing. The NPC stuff is really creative and fun, but it kind of left me feeling detached from what was going on, you know? Granted, they really tried, it seems, but the plot moving forward and things going on didn't really connect with me. I wasn't super entertained by it. You know, there is a decent villain, but I just couldn't get interested in much. But first impressions wise, as I'm not finished with the game, I do say I recommend the permadeath mode if that's your type of thing. The NPC stuff is really creative and fun, but it kind of left me feeling detached from what was going on, you know? Granted, they really tried, it seems, but the plot moving forward and things going on didn't really connect with me. I wasn't super entertained by it. You know, there is a decent villain, but I just couldn't get interested in much of it at all. Maybe it has a bit to do with me not playing as a singular, actually written character, but I think they did the best they could with it. I really do. I just don't think I found the moment-to-moment plot interesting itself. And couple that with the occasional repetitive mission, I found myself just kind of going through the motions sometimes. You know, which isn't really the best thing in a game, but every time the game did something cool or unique, I kind of forgot about those issues and went back to having a positive, good, fun, open world time. So that mileage is going to vary from player to player. I can only guide you so far here. You know, I have two friends that got the game on launch. One is absolutely loving it. One is feeling a little bit meh on it. So that's how it is. Now, one thing that isn't up for debate is the state of the game, I think. I think it looks pretty decent. You know, there's good world detail, a little bit of popping here and there, but nothing crazy. But there are a lot of glitches and weird awkwardness. I've had NPCs floating, clipping through walls, weird messed up faces, and a few missions just completely crash on me. It feels like this one needed a little bit more time in the oven. Not to mention the fact that sometimes NPCs just look jacked up or weird, or their voices feel weirdly off. And a few missions just completely crash on me. It feels like this one needed a little bit more time in the oven. Not to mention the fact that sometimes NPCs just look jacked up or weird, or their voices feel weirdly off. You know, the technical issues are something I like to point out because I have a high tolerance, personally, for putting up with this stuff, but I know some players really can't stand the sight of some glitches and some problems, so be warned. So I pointed out the game's systems, quite a bit of things I like, a few things I'm not crazy about. These are just first impressions, of course, but I think you're gonna either really enjoy this one or despise it completely. Now, it feels a bit more unique than the standard Ubisoft fare, although there are some issues. I really want to give them points, like I said, for trying weird stuff. I think some elements of this game might bring a cult following. The people who do like it, who I've talked to so far, do really dig it. Honestly, I hope the Watchdogs series just keeps taking this concept forward in the future and expands upon it, really. I chalk that up as a win. Even if it's awkward, it feels like Watch Dogs found a cool new angle that works for them, other than just open world game with hacking. Like, there's a bit more here. Watch Dogs 4, if carried in a similar direction and expanded upon, could be amazing. But, of course, guys, that's a before you buy. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now I want to hear yours down in the comments. There's a lot to talk about with this game, and I want to know what you guys are thinking, especially considering there are so many games and even upcoming consoles that are all competing for your time in the next coming months. So, let's talk. Now, of course, it's me, your old pal Jake Baldino, and I'm going to have a lot more before you buys coming for you. So, keep it peeled. If you enjoyed this, clicking the like button does help, and subscribing if you're new is a good idea, you know. Before you buy, you know how this goes by now. It's a show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy. You know how this goes by now. It's a show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we've been spending some time with the new 2.0 update overhaul for the base game of Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the new expansion DLC, Phantom Liberty. I don't think I need to remind anyone that Cyberpunk 2077 it had a bad launch. You probably heard, you may have been rightfully pissed, but since release, the game has slowly improved over time. In fact, for us here at GameRanks, it's not as big of a wow factor with the 2.0 update, just because we've revisited the game every year or so for the last 3 years and seen significant progress. It feels and plays better, and the majority of the work was spent on the technical side, where the game is more sound. You'll still see weird stuff and glitches and animations occasionally, but it's important to note that the game is like no longer falling apart by its seams. So with that, now the 2.0 update does a great job overhauling some big gameplay elements and just making it more compelling to play, full stop. And then Phantom Liberty, the expansion, adds a great new area, a cool sub-story to play through that really kind of throws a lot of different stuff at you. It tries new ideas and scenarios you don't see in the main game, and I think it does it to mostly great effect. Now, if you were burned at the start or you were waiting to finally play, or hey, maybe you're somewhere in the middle, this is a good time. Cyberpunk 2077 now, 3 years later, and the Phantom Liberty expansion is solid stuff. And so, you know, here, we've been playing.
Sometimes a video game gives you the tensest, white-knuckle moments you can imagine.
And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake, and today we're taking a quick look at Grand Theft Auto 5. Yes, the newly released official PS5 and Xbox Series X and S versions, because we're now on like the, what is it, the third generation of Grand Theft Auto 5? The game originally released in 2013. Where were you in 2013? Where was I? I don't even know. So because this channel takes any opportunity to talk about Grand Theft Auto, we had to take a look. And also, I never did a Before You Buy on the original base game, so there's that. Let's jump in. This new version brings it to the next-gen consoles with some modern graphical features and takes advantage of a few things like 3D audio and haptic feedback. And straight up, it seems like it certainly brings it up to par. You know, we've been playing all day here, and this footage is both PS5 and Xbox Series X versions, and it looks good. It's not life-changing. Do not expect a remake here or anything. This is just a re-release. You might have been looking for that. You might not have been. I don't know. It's that simple. You technically have to pay to get this upgrade, and it does seem like a competent port. I know a lot of people have felt iffy because of the state of how the Grand Theft Auto trilogy released a few months back, but so far with this, we haven't seen any red flags. It's GTA 5 with a higher resolution, better frame rate, seemingly a bit more detail, and some ray-traced lighting and reflections. Now, it might not look like too much in this YouTube video. YouTube kind of puts a damper on things sometimes with compression, but in real life, on a good TV and HDR, this thing is pretty smooth and nice looking. It's got moments where it definitely shows its age. It is still very much a game from 2013. Granted, like a really big budget, well done game from 2013, but still a game from 2013, but that's kind of expected here. This upgrade isn't going to change your life or anything, but it seems pretty rock solid for what they set out to do here. You have the choice of 3 different graphics modes, depending on your preference. Fidelity mode gives you best visuals and native 4K on Series X and PS5, but it's 30 FPS. Now, to be fair, it seems like a pretty solid 30 FPS for the most part to our untrained eyes, but yeah. Then there's performance mode, which is 60 FPS with an upscaled 4K resolution. Now, the upscaling looks good enough to me, and the visuals don't take a hit. It looks good, and it's smooth. Then there's performance RT mode, or performance ray tracing mode, which is upscaled 4K, 60 FPS with ray tracing enabled. This looks the best, it seems, and is still smooth. This is what we mostly played on, especially on the PS5 version. Blasting through the city or the countryside at high speeds looks good, and even with a lot of action on screen, like a big police chase with helicopters and everything seems to be good. Now, load times make a hell of a difference. Obviously, that big front-end load is shortened up, which is noticeable, but it's really cool to just do the quickly swap between characters thing on the character switching screen. So, if you've never played GTA 5 story mode, it centers around 3 characters that, after a certain point, are out living in the world doing their own thing separately, and you can swap between them at any time. This transition between them used to kind of feel like a stylized loading screen with a bit of a delay. Now it feels like it's just a zoom out and then zoop and a zoom in to another character. It's really cool and makes all the difference now. Now, people who've played the PC version and have access to mods will obviously say this new version isn't really a big deal, but if you're a console player, this is the best version you're gonna get. You're also able to do a save migration from previous gen to this gen, which is nice via the Rockstar Games Social Club thing. And they throw a couple of exclusive items and stuff your way too for GTA Online, most notably How's Special Works, with a few new missions and races and car customization options. So no, it's not exactly like the jump from Xbox 360 to Xbox One or PS3 to PS4 with the first person mode and the bigger feeling overhauls. No. Now, on the bright side, them taking advantage of little things like the PS5 DualSense controller tech is nice. There's a bit more subtlety to different road textures, and the controller will react to certain things differently, like rain and stuff. The pedals feel like you gotta push them a little bit. ADS and shooting feels good. These things are just nice little thoughtful additions. The game itself, now you can access story mode or online mode right from the main menu, because at this point, this far in, GTA Online is its own beast. It's become its own huge thing, and some people might be jumping in just for that. But story mode itself is nice to revisit. It's a wild and weird story in an awesome satirical Rockstar game style world. This doesn't quite connect with me as much as San Andreas or Grand Theft Auto 4's story and characters really did. That's just me personally. But upon replaying it again, I did kind of notice some more subtleties here and there. And I'm a little older now, I understand plots a little better. But the idea to center it around 3 main characters, Franklin, Trevor, and Michael, is really ambitious, and each character brings their own unique thing to the story, from skill set and sense of humor to just worldview, really, and different approaches and different settings. Michael brings a kind of subtler, older guy, retired crime, midlife crisis story. Franklin brings a kind of full-fleshed journey from one walk of life to another completely crazy one. And Trevor is just kind of like the chaos element, the insanity. People really like Trevor. I'm gonna like say something blasphemous here. I could find him kind of annoying, but still, Stephen Ogg, the voice actor, the portrayal of him is entertaining. And it's a lengthy adventure with like a couple of really boring side missions here and there. I'm looking at you, like warehouse container shipping one, but like there are still tons of good entertaining ones mostly. And every voice actor absolutely kicks ass, and some of the satire of the world, like the poking fun of social media and pop culture, is still pretty decent. It's been a long time though, and you'll notice a bit, but I can only imagine what type of stuff they'd make fun of in the eventual, inevitable Grand Theft Auto 6. You know, replaying this one here actually got me thinking about the future a bit, and I'm really curious and kind of excited. But if you've never played the single-player adventure, again, it's not quite my favorite of the whole series, but it's still an entertaining adventure worth seeing. The music's really good, the set pieces are really good, the world is really damn good. I mean, Los Santos and the surrounding region and the state of San Andreas is really, really well realized. Even now in 2022, this world can still kick the pants off of some video games' worlds. It's dense and interesting with wacky pedestrians and fun secrets, and like I said at the start, now it looks a little better. Now, the same goes for GTA Online. If you've never jumped in, it technically has way more content than ever. Like, I've never been super big into it, just kind of dabbled here and there, and I was never into the additional microtransactions or anything, but there's no denying that there is a lot of game here, and you can spend a lot of time in it. They finally streamlined the careers starting, and jumping in fresh is a way better and more immediately engaging experience now. It doesn't feel like just a single-player light start to Grand Theft Auto Online. Now it has like full-fledged bases of operations and jobs and careers that you start out with, and it's just so much more customizable, and like I said, engaging right from the start. It makes a hell of a difference if you were ever interested. It's like almost like a completely different game at this point after so many years. Now, overall, is Grand Theft Auto 5 Next Gen worth the asking price? I'm not so sure. But is it worth the upgrade price? Maybe, yeah. If you dropped off and you were looking to get back in, they do what they can to make it as easy as possible, and it looks a little better. That's really it. It's not a disaster, thankfully. It's just exactly what was expected. More Grand Theft Auto 5, and if you're playing on console, probably the best way to experience it. But hey, that's it before you buy, guys. You know how this works. By now, we give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. And now we want to hear yours down in the comments. First things first, before the product itself, like, what's your favorite character of the three main dudes? What's your favorite moment from the game? Just whether it's online or in the single-player story. And where are you at in general with this whole upgrade thing? Do you think you're going to spend a couple of bucks to get this version, maybe from your PS4 now to your PS5? Maybe you're still hunting for one of these consoles. Maybe you don't care. If you're playing on Xbox, we'd love to know if you're playing it on Xbox Series X or Series S. Really, let us know anything you want about Grand Theft Auto 5, whether it's old gen or new gen or whatever. Let's talk about this stuff, and maybe if you want to get spicy in the comments, the future of Grand Theft Auto with a GTA 6. But if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed seeing some gameplay front and center, just some raw information and knowing what this thing is, clicking the like button's all you got to do. It really helps us out if we helped you out. Thank you. But if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. We're almost at 7 million subscribers. Oh my goodness. But hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
That's a hell of a ride you got there.
And we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, the Definitive Edition. We've been playing these non-stop since they went live, and we've got some info for you. This is a long-rumored re-release of the classic Grand Theft Auto games that really changed the world of gaming, and it's got some good tweaks. It's got a couple things it's missing, a nice new coat of paint, some weird visual glitches, and some issues, and yeah. Now, it's worth pointing out that this is not a complete remake. Set your expectations. It's a remaster. It's an updated, nicer looking, and more convenient version of the original that still feels old in some spots. Yes, I'm bummed that Rockstar delisted the original versions of the games so you can't buy them anymore. But I think what we have here is if you're interested in it, a decent way to experience the classic games. They're like you remember, for the most part, except for a few things I'll explain, but it's also a good enough representation for a new generation of people to play it who never got to.
But we think for most people, for people who play these games a lot or you experience them a lot, this feels like it did need some more time in the oven. The answer for the whole thing is a bit more complicated. This is going to be a divisive one.
Now, whether you think it's worth the money or maybe you don't want this because you're mad that Rockstar still isn't giving you Grand Theft Auto 6, that's up to you. I can't really move the needle there. But putting that stuff aside, let's just dive into this product. We've got a lot of gameplay footage for the game on different consoles and platforms for you to see, and all of this is spoiler-free. So first, let's talk about the biggest upfront upgrade, the visuals. A lot of this is going to be down to personal taste and preference, specifically with the art style. It's subjective, so keep that in mind. But the facts first. These are the original games, but with new, nicer, higher resolution textures, new lighting systems, vastly better particle and weather effects. Cars look way better. They're shinier with better reflections. Characters and objects look just kind of updated, like they filled in the blanks with the old graphics. There's a bit more to them in all cutscenes too. But generally, visually, I think in most instances, it looks really good. There are some caveats, but at the very least, in terms of translating the old into somewhat new, but like you remembered, I think they mostly made the right decisions. I found myself sometimes going, wow. Some of it looks good. A few things look not so good. Do you want more? I mean, maybe you'll get it with mods again eventually. San Andreas has some really killer lighting during the day that can make things look pretty modern, while Vice City just seems to have gotten the most care here. The colors are freaking absolutely amazing, and the game just looks and feels a bit fresher but familiar. Some characters and things have a bit more of that cartoony look that the old games were going for, but now, less muddy and a bit more fully realized. Now, again, that's a matter of personal preference. A friend of mine thinks the main characters look weird, and I just disagree. I think they look cool. But there are some side characters that look kind of jacked up, though, I will say. I don't know what happened. They will be memed a lot. But once you start moving and once you start playing, this really is still the old Grand Theft Auto games, meaning characters still get in the cars in that same goofy, aggressive way. They still have those crazy, jerky jump animations, and shooting still looks a little awkward. More on that in a bit. Now, on PC, it has DLSS support, and on the next-gen consoles, it's, to quote Rockstar, 4K up to 60 FPS. Now, it's got two modes, of course, prioritize resolution or prioritize frame rate mode. We've seen this in a lot of other games on newer consoles, and it's all fine and dandy. There's not a massive compromise in cool visuals between the two, except for one game. GTA 3. GTA 3 overall seems like it got the least attention. You'll see that be the theme here. I know it's the oldest and the hardest to fix, but there's tons of weird glitches. We had a few crashes, and there are a lot of visual bugs and stuff that flip-flops weirdly depending on if you're in frame rate mode or fidelity mode. Lighting can get really weird and inconsistent, and the rain effects are downright hard to look at. I can't believe these are in the game. It actually kind of made two of us here kind of feel woozy after staring at it for too long. The frame rate also dipped here and there and was not rock solid, which is something I really was not expecting for an updated version of a PS2 game. This stuff should be watertight. Thankfully, though, so far, San Andreas and Vice City seem to be much stronger overall. The frame rate on frame rate mode maintains a close to solid 60, except for the occasional stutter. That's still a bit more than I was hoping, but I'm just pointing out stuff that was noticeable to our naked eye. It seems mostly smooth. This also goes for the last gen version as well. It looks a little more framey, but it ain't bad at all, and it looks okay. We tested out the PS4 version on a base model PS4 Slim, and we'll have some gameplay popping up in this video here so you can compare. Now, the PC version, some quick notes. PC started very promising with San Andreas running between 60 to 80 FPS in 1440p with ultra settings, which doesn't sound great for a 17-year-old game on PC with a Ryzen 7 3800 and a 2080 Super, but it isn't terrible either considering the upgrades and changes. Still, we think it could use a bit more optimization. Still, the game is totally enjoyable, but like we said earlier, there's more problems in the GTA 3 version. The game runs, seemingly for us, with a performance loss of 30 to 50% in more demanding scenes. We messed with our settings, but still couldn't get it perfect. If you're jumping around between the games back to back, you might notice some stuff. Now, the Switch version is it's actually pretty much what we expected. It's rough. It's kind of like The Witcher 3 on Switch, where on handheld it technically looks decent, like wow, they did it, and seems somewhat playable, but it's just blurry. Now, put that in docked mode on a screen, and it's pretty unacceptable. But again, we have inconsistency between the games. You know, where I thought San Andreas was blurry but fine, Vice City on Switch specifically was a little choppy in some strange ways. Like you can see it in Tommy's run animation sometimes. I don't know what's going on there, but you know, just know that the Switch version comes with a warning. It comes with the territory of the hardware not being super powerful, but still, it's a facelift of an old game. Now, the gameplay itself, it feels good. You know, it feels largely unchanged, but slightly beefed up in places that count. The games are still good and really fun, specifically San Andreas. It's all still so great if you ask me. The games have more modern checkpointing and autosaves, so it's way easier to restart a mission if you fail. The older games were notorious for this. You know, you would do a longer mission and you would fail right at the end, and it sucks. And in some ways, it's a little better here. There's now a more modern GTA-style weapon wheel and radio station wheel, and it works perfectly. You can still swap weapons the old-fashioned way by just mashing the button through them all, or just hold it and bring up the weapon wheel now. And mini-maps are updated as well with like fresh navigation and stuff. The control layout is more Grand Theft Auto 5 style, and the aiming and shooting has been updated as well. The targeting style was said to be like Grand Theft Auto 5, but like, not quite. This is not the control upgrade you were possibly looking for. Like I said at the start, it's still the same game here, with the same awkward combat that we enjoyed back then. Now, you can just hold the left trigger and lock on and aim a bit quicker and more naturally, and in a way that makes it feel more in line with a regular third-person shooter, but, you know, movement is awkward, the character's arm can sometimes flail about, and shootouts are still mostly awkward. It gets better by game, you know, just like it did back in the day. 3 was rough, Vice City was better, San Andreas was pretty good. So the update makes aiming and shooting a little easier and cleaner, but the combat can still look a little awkward. Just know that. But at the very least, it's easy to pick up and doesn't feel as archaic. And thankfully, guns still have the same punch. Swinging a bat or a melee weapon is still just zany and goofy, and the games still have the challenging spots. Same goes for the driving. I know people are very particular about the driving in between these games. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it seems like they didn't really mess with anything. But there are still the differences in feel between the games. Also, we got to acknowledge the music. You know, these games are known for really embracing the spirit and culture of their respective time periods, and with that came some incredible licensed real-world tracks, most notably San Andreas and Vice City. Unfortunately, there are some missing tracks. Now, if you played earlier re-released versions of the games from a few years back, you might already be aware of some of the tracks missing here. Some are whatever, and some are really noticeable. There are still tons of tracks, and they're seemingly higher quality now, but the missing tracks are a bummer. I'll link a source in the description below that outlines what songs are in and what aren't, just so you know. Now, this is one part Rockstar not getting the rights to use these songs, but it can also very well just be some of the music labels and artists saying no. It happens sometimes, and it sucks for us, the people playing and buying. It's not stripped down super hard by any means, but I got some favorites that didn't make the cut. Now, still, if you've never played these games, it's worth pointing out that they're still fun, still worth playing, and cool if you like gaming history. GTA 3 changed everything. It feels a little generic now, but the sarcasm is still pretty good, and at the time, it was so unique. Vice City injects that 80s neon fun stuff and introduced a whole culture of kids, myself included, to cool 80s stuff. And then San Andreas just kind of blows everything out of the water with more gameplay elements and an absolutely insanely massive open world, along with some really cool West Coast hip-hop stuff. I still love these games, and even with the warts on this version, it doesn't bother me too much once I turn off my critical gamer brain. Still, it's important. It's going to be different for everyone. I do really still wish this one had more time in the oven. I know they were trying to hit an anniversary release, but some elements just feel a little bit too messy or undercooked from some optimization stuff to some weird visual glitches. I do wish there was a little more care on everything because these games are so important, but I don't hate it or anything, and I've been having a ton of fun playing through these games. It's been absolutely non-stop since we downloaded them, and although we have these complaints that we wanted to highlight here, we're highlighting them because we still love Grand Theft Auto games, and we're still planning on seeing these games through to the end. But you know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now we want to hear yours down in the comments. What are you thinking? Also, which one are you going to jump into first? Are you waiting for a sale? Do you think this is too expensive? Do you think this is just fine? Let us know any of your thoughts. Have you had any weird glitches and issues? Are we being overly sensitive? Do you miss some missing songs? There's a lot to talk about with this one, so let us know. If you enjoyed this video though, and maybe it helped you out, maybe steered you in a direction, clicking the like button helps us. I think YouTube's getting rid of the like button. I don't know anything anymore.
But hey, we're Game Ranks. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.